Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zheng here, and I'm finally back with another video for you all. As you may know, I was at the 2014 Pokemon World Championships this weekend. Of course, I qualified through finishing third at Worlds last year, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys tuned in into the live stream, saw Sejun Park dominate with Pachirisu, Mega Gyarados, and the rest of his team. It was super awesome. Sejun and I are actually close friends. He's really been an inspiration to me ever since I started playing BGC when he joined the scene. We've, battled a bunch. We've actually used each other's teams at tournaments before, and he is such an inspiration and honor, and I was so happy to see him win, because there is nobody in the world that works harder or plays more Pokemon than Sejun, and yeah, even though I didn't win it all in the end, if there was anyone else I could have chosen, it would have been him, and it was really just so nice being in the audience and cheering for him. For me personally, I ended up finishing 4-2 with a 18th place. Not as well as I would have liked. Obviously, I really wanted to make it back to top cut to get a chance at redemption after finishing third last year, but RNG wasn't in my favor, and I don't think I played as well as I did in the losses that I had. So it is what it is. Pokemon is, that kind of game, and in the end, I will be back making a run for it next year, so hopefully I get another shot. Hopefully I can qualify for Worlds again, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get on to the actual team report, since I love the team that I brought to Worlds this year. Before I get started, I just want to thank Alex Gomez. He's one of the best European seniors. He actually top 4 to European National for the last 3 years, excuse me. Top 8 Worlds both this year and last year, and him and I built this team together. So without his efforts, this team would not be nearly as perfected as it is, in my opinion, today. So thank you so much to Alex, and congrats to him on his top 8 finish. You can follow him on Twitter at PokeAlex1999. Anyway, finally, let's get into this team. So, when building for Worlds, I knew I wanted to revolve a couple of things. Obviously, Kangaskhan was still by far the best de facto kind of Mega Evolution, so I wanted to use that, but I wanted to take a more bulkier stance at it, not kind of jolly 252 nonsense. I also really wanted to try out Trick Room, which is why you see Gothitelle on the team, and I had some interesting picks, especially in Pokemon such as Hariyama. But let me start off with the first one. So you see Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat's obviously one of those really good just kind of support Pokemon because it gets Will-O-Wisp, Overheat, Thunderbolt, and Protect. I went for safety goggles obviously because I wanted to ignore Amoonguss. I wanted a hard way to shut it down, and it was really, really good in testing. Ability to Will-O-Wisp outside of Rage Powder was awesome as well. But obviously Sejun, called this even better, and he went with the Pachirisu. One of the main reasons why he went for Pachirisu was because he knew safety goggles on Pokemon like Rotom Heat and Zapdos would be a thing. So excellent call on his end, but I went for a bulkier build, 252 HP and 164 special defense with Calm to always survive Specs Draco Meteor from Modest Hydreigon. I knew Modest Hydreigon was probably going to be very common with choice specs, so 4 of my 6 Pokemon are actually EV to survive any attack from it. Salamence actually beats it because it outspeeds it. Farthor was the only Pokemon that it actually had trouble against, but the rest of my team really was meant to just try to shut it down and tank its attacks, which was really nice. Put 68 in defense, obviously, because I wanted more defense to survive on the physical end. For example, return from Kangaskhan, 20 in special attack, and 4 for speed, just to outspeed any 0-speed Rotom. So, just in case, because you never know. So the next Pokemon is Hariyama, and this one is pretty interesting. It's actually the MVP of my team, and I'm really glad I brought him to Worlds. You see the moveset of Fake Out, Knock Off, Close Combat, Helping Hand with the ability Guts, Citrus Berry, and a pretty complicated EV spread. That EV spread is designed to survive Specs Draco Meteor once again from Modest Hydreigon 100% of the time, as well as Jolly Close Combat from Adaptability Mega Lucario. So really 2 of the most powerful attacks on both the physical and special spectrum. 100 obviously into attack, and 4 was left over, so I just put it into speed. It would not go into any of the other stats accordingly, but the 4 in speed, just in case I ran into any other Hariyamas, I could actually outspeed it and fake out it, because you never know. I went with Citrus Berry instead of, say, Assault Vest, which is, I guess, more common on Hariyamas that you see in competitive play, because I really wanted bulk on this one, and I wanted to be able to, say, tank a Specs Draco Meteor from Hydreigon, heal back up, and you'll see later with my Gothitelle, it makes a bit more sense, because I'm actually running Heal Pulse on my Gothitelle. Fake Out, obviously, just for Fake Out support. Close Combat as its main means of offense. It hit really hard on Pokemon like Kangaskhan, Tyranitar, and even on neutral targets. It was excellent. Knockoff was really fun because I could knock off berries, and more importantly, I can actually get the one-hit KO on stuff like, Edgeslash, because Edgeslash, even at min speed, is faster than my Hariyama. So it would outspeed me, say go for a Shadow Ball and Gothitelle, which would be able to survive, and Hariyama could just knock off it and get the one-hit KO on it. So in addition to getting, rid of pesky items, it was also really good for getting damage on ghost types. In particular, the Edgeslash, but also it hit stuff like Chandelure and Gengar this weekend a lot too, so awesome. Helping Hand really worked well with the team with heavy hitters like Specs Salamence, Gyro Ball, Ferrothorn, against, fast Pokemon, and Double Edge Kangaskhan. It allowed me to pick up a lot of one-hit KOs I normally would not, and gives me insurance. I didn't really need Protect on one of the bulkier Pokemon on the team. Gothitelle was my Trick Room user. It actually resembles the Cresselia I brought to Worlds last year, using a Chesto Berry instead of the typical Citrus/Leftovers. I went with Chesto because I wanted to... the Gothitelle was also actually built to survive Specs Dark Pulse from Hydreigon 100% of the time, which is why you see so many special defense EVs and HP EVs. The bare minimum is actually 252, 244 with the special defense boosting nature. I just put the rest in defense. And, I could often lead Hariyama and Gothitelle, bait the Dark Pulse onto Gothitelle, survive, set up Trick Room, then the following turn use Rest with Gothitelle, and KO the Hydreigon with Close Combat from Hariyama. So, a combination of that really, really worked out, and it really shut down one of the more popular Pokemon that I predicted would be at Worlds. Psychic, main means of offense, Trick Room obviously for Trick Room, and Heal Pulse actually to heal the rest of my team. It was really helpful. One popular move we saw on Gothitelle at Worlds was actually Taiko, which is what both Seijun Park and Shota Yamamoto opted for. I went down the Heal Pulse route. I know Wolfie Glick actually used Heal Pulse as well, so it's interesting to see both, builds of Gothitelle. There were so many different Gothitelle actually used at Worlds this year, so I was just one of the users, but I knew it would be really good, especially with the ability to, Shadow Tag Pokemon and trap Pokemon in. With a team like this, often I would try to get Gothitelle in when my opponent wouldn't have good Pokemon that, beat Gothitelle and its partner, then I would try to set up with any of my other Pokemon. Kangaskhan is really one of the main users, but Hariyama and Ferrothorn as well. My next Pokemon was Specs Salamence with, obviously, standard 4 252, 252, Modest Nature, Intimidate, Choice Specs, 2 Fire attacks and Fire Blast and Flamethrower, 2 Dragon-type attacks and Draco Meteor and Dragon Pulse. A lot of people have questioned why I went with Specs over Scarf, and that's because they're two completely different Pokemon. Now, I originally wanted to use Specs Hydreigon in the slot, but, excuse me, I predicted that Specs Hydreigon would be popular at Worlds, and I did not want to risk speed tying with any of them, and I still wanted a Specs Dragon, Scarf Salamence, really not going to do too much in a Worlds metagame where everything is so bulky. So, I didn't even need the speed, right? So I decided to go with the Specs variant to get as much firepower off as possible. I went with Modest instead of Timid because Timid is really not necessary on Salamence, really, unless you want to outspeed or speed tie other Spec Salamences. But I didn't think Spec Salamence would be very common, and it really wasn't at Worlds. And I don't regret the choice with that at all, because with with Choice Specs and Modest and Helping Hand from Hariyama, Draco Meteor would one-hit KO so many things. You're probably asking why I went with 2 Fire-type attacks and 2 Dragon-type attacks, and the reason is because of accuracy. You want to maximize your chances, obviously, of hitting all your attacks, and Draco Meteor and Fire Blast, the reality is they miss so many times when you need them to hit. I didn't really need types like Rock Slide, Stone Edge, or Hydro Pump, so I decided to just go down the safer route. I knew there were so many times where I would need the 100% accuracy move that I could pick up one-hit KOs on instead of the lower accuracy but higher powered attacks. So just that assurance was really nice. And it really helped out. Dragon Pulse with Choice Specs and Modest really one-hit KOs most dragons that it doesn't normally. Ferrothorn was my next pick, and it was because I wanted to counter Kangaskhan really hard on this team. If you haven't realized already, I've got Kangaskhan, I've got a way to burn it with Rotom Heat, I've got my own Kangaskhan. Excuse me, I said I've got Kangaskhan, but I've got Ferrothorn with Rocky Helmet, I've got Salamence to intimidate it, I've got Hariyama to close combat it. There was no way a Kangaskhan was going to roll over my team, and Ferrothorn was assurance for that. Iron Barb's Rocky Helmet absolutely decimates it if you switch in accordingly. I didn't go for the Lumberry, which is what Ray Rizzo used in the beginning of the year, but I still used his EV spread because I wanted to one-hit KO stuff like Rotom Wash, and I didn't predict that, I predicted that burns would not be as common at Worlds, and that really was the case. Ferrothorn was really awesome with Gothitelle and is an excellent Pokemon to use in Trick Room. You think Ferrothorn tends to be one of those bulkier Pokemon, but in this case it was just awesome in general as an attacker. Kangaskhan, final Pokemon, obviously the best de facto Mega Evolution in VGC. Surprisingly, at Worlds didn't have as much of an impact, not top-cutting Masters at all, but I still wanted to use it because I knew it'd be really powerful, and I didn't want to use Mawile, which is the normal Trick Room attacker you see with Gothitelle, mainly because I didn't want another Steel-type, and I loved Ferrothorn. You do see that I went with Protect and Double Edge instead of the common Fake Out and Return. That's because I think Protect is a lot better in Worlds. If you give your opponent the opportunity to just target that Kangaskhan slot, mindlessly, it can lead to a lot of KOs, and I had to play safely, so I wanted Protect. I didn't need Fake Out since I had Hariyama already, and Double Edge was really good because with the extra firepower, I could get KOs with Hariyama and Helping Hand, and I could heal myself actually with Gothitelle's Heal Pulse, so I didn't feel as bad taking damage and recoil, and Double Edge was actually a very popular pick. Most of the Japanese players who used Kangaskhan had Double Edge as well, including World Champion Kota Yamamoto in the finals of Juniors. My EV spread, 212 HP and 20 special defense, bare minimum to live or survive Spec Draco Meteor from a Hydreigon. 76 attack, 12 defense, and 188 in speed was to outspeed Smeargles after Mega Evolving. That was important as well. And Scrappy ability to actually hit stuff like Gengar, which often has Focus Sash. I could do cool stuff like Power Up Punch it, get a boost, and even if he were to Will-O-Wisp me, I'd still be only, my attack would be slightly reduced. So I really like Scrappy, and I thought it was definitely the ability to go with on Kangaskhan. I really like my Kangaskhan build at the end of the day, but most of my opponents actually countered it really well, obviously because Kangaskhan's such a good Pokemon. So I didn't bring it to a couple of my sets, surprisingly, opting to not go with the Mega at all. You don't need a Mega Evolution to do well against certain matchups, like Sejun Park demonstrated in the finals. He actually never brought his own Mega Gyarados, but Kangaskhan was still a good Pokemon to go to, and if my opponent was countering Kangaskhan that hard, then they probably had some unorthodox choices in which I would use the other Pokemon to beat down. So in general, the team had a bunch of different modes. Hariyama Gothitelle was a really common lead. Salamence and Gothitelle, trap my opponent right away, get an Intimidate in so they can't switch. The team revolved really around Gothitelle because you could trap anything, and you would, I'd really be dependent on the rest of my Pokemon to kind of play off that. But one of the weaknesses, for example, the loss that actually eliminated me from making top cut at Worlds was because Gothitelle got crit from a Dark Pulse. And another loss that I had in the first round, Gothitelle was flinched and crit and burned multiple times. So by using a slower Pokemon like Gothitelle, you do have to deal with kind of those RNG rolls, which is unfortunate. But you can prevent that, obviously, with, say, Fake Out from Hariyama. But it is something to be wary of when using a slower team because, the RNG rolls might not go in your favor. But in the end, I really like the team. It functioned really well, and you're definitely free to try it out yourself. I'll leave a description in the description below, a pastebin of it, so you can actually just copy it down to Showdown and test it out. In the end, it obviously wasn't a World Championship winning team. It didn't win Worlds, but I really thought it had the caliber and the potential to. And, obviously, shoutouts to all the other players who use awesome creative stuff. I went down the Kangaskhan route, but I really like Kangaskhan, and I don't have any regrets using it because he's just such a powerful... is such a powerful Mega Evolution. But yeah, there's so many different ways this team can operate, and I really can't describe it. So I'll just show you guys in the battle videos that I'll be uploading once a day in the next couple of days. Couple of weeks, really. I have so many battle videos saved up, and I'm really excited to show you all. So test out the team if you want yourself. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'll be back on the daily upload grind, so 500 likes is always the goal. But I hope you guys enjoyed this team analysis. It was a lot of fun. I'll be doing a write-up about it on Nugget Bridge, so you can read it more in description, and you can read about my actual battles as well. But I just wanted to get a quick video out there. Not really quick since this has lasted so long, so you guys can see what the team I used at Worlds was like. Anyway, that's it for today, guys, and I'll see you next time. Alright, peace.